Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 18th of February, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, looking at the dollar index. Dollar just falling away a little bit on the short-term chart, so short-term bearish now, just unwinding a good few weeks of rises here. So we're just seeing a bit of a retracement there, but still medium and long-term bullish. The euro, consequently, is looking more bullish on the short-term chart, on the Ichimoku chart, but we've still got these downside targets hanging over us, anywhere between 1, 2, and 4% lower. So still quite a bearish situation. The thing to watch out for on the Eurodollar chart is this activation of this downside target of 104. We haven't activated that yet, but just keep an eye out for any new lows there. The Japanese yen, we said on Thursday, if we saw a fall, we were seeing a fall in the yen. That was preceding a fall against other currencies, and that's what's happened. We normally sit sharp in the dollar yen chart first. Sterling actually looking stronger this morning, bullish on the short term chart against the dollar, and the euro also sterling looking stronger, and on the Swiss franc. So not quite as strong there, but we are just seeing a little bit of a resurgence in the pound this morning, and against the Aussie dollar, not quite as strong. Bitcoin is up nearly 2% this morning, had a big jump yesterday at the end of the day, and so we are just seeing a bit of a move here. That has given us a 15% upside target, but against these long-term charts being bearish, be a brave person who went for that target. Looking at the US markets, we saw the S&P 500 index was up 1% on Friday, so looking strong still in this recovery. Not quite bullish on the medium-term chart, and a relative shortage of upside targets. We will get an upside target on this column, the recovery column, so it'll be interesting to see. We'll get a pullback at some stage. Can we then go higher to activate that column? The same with the Nasdaq. We actually do have an upside target here, some 3% higher, and we're just pushing the medium-term resistance on the cloud as well. Against the Dow, we're seeing the Dow actually has broken that medium-term resistance, so that's looking stronger, and we've got some good upside targets here, some 2.5, nearly 4% higher. And the Russell 2000 index, the broader-based US index 2000 stocks, actually looking better as well. Again, a shortage of upside targets for the moment. The futures in the US are down very slightly this morning, so a bit hard to call which way the market will go. The UK market, the FTSE 100 down just under 1/3% this morning, but still holding on to its bullish trend, and medium term just starting to come out of the cloud. Mid caps faring better this morning in the UK, looking up there, and the the DAX down a 0.25%, and the CAC Quarante is up very slightly, just showing its strength as well. Japan was up 1.5% overnight on the broader base 400 index. The Hang Seng at 1.6%, and the Chinese market powering ahead, up nearly 3%. So we are seeing quite a recovery here in Chinese stocks. Still got these downside targets hanging over us, and none of these have really been unwound yet. We will get an upside thrust target here, be the first if this is a recovery in Chinese stocks. The medium-term chart suggests we're seeing that, but the long-term chart is still bearish. The Sensex down 0.5%, bucking the trend here, still bearish on the short-term chart, but it's looking bullish still on long and medium term. And the Aussie market was up slightly, but still looking pretty good on all three time frames. Brent crude is pushing higher ahead, up 0.5% this morning. We've seen really over the last week a really big resurgence here in crude oil prices, that we're seeing that coming through on the short-term chart. We've got an upside target 67.57. That's the one we're playing for. Shortage of medium and long-term targets. WTI, similar picture really. Of course, we are seeing an upside target potential of 9.5% on the midterm chart, but we haven't got really many targets to play for here either. US nat gas sitting at $2.64. That's taking it just to short-term bullish. And if we take a look at gold, gold actually powering ahead on Friday, so giving us a move back to bullish, activating an upside target here, and just looking at that, if we can move to a new high, we activate a target to $17. That's 7% higher. At the moment, 13.35 is the target that we're playing for there, and it's looking pretty bullish as well. Taking a look at silver, we are also looking a bit better here this morning. US 10-year yield sitting at 2.66%, so we're still in bearish territory there. And German bonds, the bond prices actually look better as a result of those lower yields. This data all coming to you from Thomson Reuters Icon or Metastock Zenith if you're using private system, same system. Looking at the stocks themselves here, I'm using Yahoo Finance data. So we see here the prices coming in from Yahoo, mostly green in Asia, a little bit red in the European market, and of course we're waiting for the US to open. On Friday, we had the big moves here. Liberty Global were up 3%, and it was quite interesting. Just looking at some of the bellwethers, Apple was actually down just slightly, so just struggling, but still looking like they're finding long-term support, but they've got more work to do on the short term. Alphabet was also down 0.8%, and Amazon was down 0.9%. So we did see the market just bucking the trend there. Facebook in the news again today. They were down just under 1%. So although they're medium-term bullish, they're just struggling to get back into that bullish territory on the long-term chart. And again, just taking a look at some of the other bellwethers, Microsoft bucked the trend up 1.2%, and Netflix was down 0.6%, and Tesla was actually up 1.3%. So not yet bullish on the chart, but interesting. We're just seeing these the tech stocks still looking like they're in recovery mode. Aussie market, we had Automotive Holdings Group up 8.5%, not enough to change the chart really. GWA were up 4% this overnight, and again, not much to change the chart. If we go to the downside, Bingo Industries, massive fall here. So that's really a dire looking chart. Was already in a downtrend. Smart Group also looking lower, bearish below the clouds, and Bank of Queensland Limited much the same picture. So we're not still a lot of stocks looking pretty bad, even though we're seeing a recovery in the market. Chinese market was strong. We had companies up like Sanan up 7%. Not enough really yet to change the trend here, but we are seeing a better performance. Poly developments were down 2.5%, but actually the chart looking better there. In the Indian market here, we see the live prices coming in from Yahoo. In the Indian market, we've got Bharati Infratel down 3.5%. Oil and natural gas down 1.7%. So we are seeing quite big moves to the downside there, at the upside there. Yes Bank down 2.9%, still looking a little bit bearish. Over to Europe now. We take a look at the FTSE 100 first of all. Just click on the top here to see the best performers. Rickett and Benckiser up 2.7%. Johnson Matthey up 2%. Just starting to see some of these charts recovering, which is quite key. TUI had a terrible time of late. They're up 2%. Really doesn't change the picture of a very bearish one. And Antofagasta looking better here. Medium-term recovery looking very much in trade. Good upside targets, just hitting resistance, but looking quite good there. Here we see the live prices coming in from Yahoo Finance. Royal Bank of Scotland reported last week. We're seeing that medium-term recovery looking quite good there. Upside target 47% higher against the trend though, but it is activated, so that's looking quite good. Banks generally looking like they're better this morning. Banks and financials. We've got Standard Life here, Royal Bank of Scotland, of course. Hargreaves Lansdowne. So we are seeing financials taking a little bit of a better look. Prudential as well. Hargreaves Lansdowne still looking pretty bearish, having underperformed the last several weeks. On the downside in the FTSE this morning, we've got IAG down, Flybe going under hasn't really helped Airlines. We've got Compass Group down 1.5%, but the chart actually looking reasonable. Good upside targets there. EasyJet, of course, falling in sympathy with IAG on that talk as well. So we are still seeing quite a lot of stocks down. The FTSE 250, the best performers here today, Vivo Energy up 4.6%. That chart looking like it's in recovery mode. Nvidia up 4.5%, but the chart looking really still terrible. Darnell bucking the trend, reporting last week, and this chart looking really quite good. And we've got quite good upside targets here, so that's quite interesting. Taking a look at the downside, we've got plus 500 down 4% and Petrofac down 2.6%, looking pretty terrible. In Europe, this morning we've got some quite big moves here. Wirecard AG up 9% in Germany, having had a terrible start to the year. And if we look on the downside, we've got Metro AG down 3.6%, although the chart looks relatively good there. Demek Group down 2.6%, 3.6%, and Kindred down 3.75%. So we are seeing some still big fallers. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.